Johnny,
Yes.
what is the best ads platform?
Good question. That depends. So I'm actually reading a book that we were recommended to read at the minute called The Hawke Method. HAWKE method. And it's by a guy who runs a huge ads agency in America. He's worked with some like big brands. And he has a really nice way of categorizing ad platforms. He includes TV, radio, newspapers, like direct mail, like, you know, junk mail you get through your letterbox. And he basically just categorizes it. And I think this is a really nice way of viewing it, is either like interruption, like a form of marketing that interrupts something you're doing, or a form of marketing that is like capturing an intent. So you were searching something, you were going to do something anyway, and you ended up like finding the ad as a result of that. And I think most ad platforms these days, apart from really Google search, are an interruption style of ad, right? So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, although no one really uses that for ads. Same with LinkedIn, even YouTube. They're all interrupting something you're about to do.
You're watching content and then something comes up, as opposed to searching landing page builder and then you're about to click on ClickFunnels and there's an advert comes up above it. Better than ClickFunnels, try Kartra. And you're like,
Exactly.
oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of them, so interruption-based marketing is almost like creating demand, right? Demand that may not have existed beforehand. Intent-based marketing, so exactly what Yusuf's just described, is taking advantage of demand that's already there. So if you're searching for something on Google, like best whiteboard
Microphone.
best microphone, you type that in and you get hit with an advert from the first paid ad at the top is a Shure mic or a Rode mic or whatever. The chances of you buying that, pretty high. Or you click on that and then you get retargeted around the internet, and all you see for the next 10 days on Instagram is like Rode mics one after the other. So as an online coach, as an online PT trying to take advantage of this, for the most part, unless you want to go after some really expensive keyword like targeting, so someone typing into Google best online coach, you're going up against, like, firstly, think how many results get given to you in that instance. Like, let's say 10. Let's say you look at the first page of Google. You're going up against every other online coach on that one page of Google. Then, yet granted, it may be slightly different area to area, person to person, but you're always going to be better off trying to create demand for your service elsewhere first. So, some kind of interruption-based platform.
Because broadly on Google, yes, like we tested this recently where Johnny, myself, and our friend Ben all decided to search for like Nike trainers or like Nike trainers Manchester at the same time on our phones, and we got slightly different results, but they were all broadly the same kind of 20 results in slightly different order. So effectively, yes, everyone has their own personal Google to an extent, but they're not drastically different, and you're still kind of competing with those top 20 slots on page one of Google.
Yeah. And so, you know, if Nike can pay £50 a click for their ads, unless you're really, really confident in what you're doing, you don't want to be paying £50 a click. So as a kind of category-based decision, should I go like intent or interruption? Go interruption. So you're going to interrupt someone with what they're doing. And after that, it doesn't really matter which platform you pick. It's kind of how I view it. Well, there are pros and cons of each one. There's an ease of setup for each one, and there's like a trend and like popularity trend with each one. So a lot of people would say that Facebook is becoming less popular over time. Probably the same with Instagram, although more slowly. TikTok's becoming more popular over time. Twitter's gaining popularity as well. So is LinkedIn. So some view it as maybe, where is my audience? First question. And then also, what am I willing to try and learn? So you might want to try YouTube ads, for example, but they're more complicated and you've got to make a video versus Facebook or Instagram, where it's like text and an image generally, or like a short video and text. So to summarize, we teach at the minute anyway, Facebook and Instagram, because still, even though there's all the negative press about like, oh, they don't work, they're so much more expensive, that's just scaremongering. It's someone doing a Dave Asprey in the advertising world, right? Those still work. They still interrupt people. There are still billions of people who use those platforms. I would definitely go down that route first before trying. So many people want to try SEO. They want to try Google PPC. They want to try YouTube. They want to try TikTok. Get Facebook and Instagram working first, and then move that strategy over, or generate demand for your service and then pay for Propin Fitness online coaching, that keyword on Google, right? And that'll be, because no one really wants that other than us, right? So pay for that. It'll be cheaper, and you're capturing the intent that you created from the interruption. Does that make sense?
So just to summarize what you said then, so you've got intent-based advertising and interruption-based advertising. And you'd recommend for a starter to go with interruption-based.
Yeah.
And the platform that you choose, usually these are feed-based social media platforms. So Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Generally people that say it's not profitable, it's a bit of a blanket statement, and these companies wouldn't be in business if it was just not profitable. Like no one would be running ads on them. So so from that perspective, like they will all work, but depending on your strengths and weaknesses and preferences, you pick the one based on that. And that depends on, as you say, the vibe of the platform and the type of audience that hang out on there, and also the ease of creating new angles. So you've been deep down the YouTube ads rabbit hole recently, and from what I've picked up from you, it's very much like the difference between, say, making Twitter ads or Facebook ads, where it's usually text and image. It's very easy to pump out loads of them and to pump out different combinations of text and image. And so the friction to generating angles is quite low, but the longevity is quite low as well.
Yeah.
Whereas with YouTube, it's a lot more friction to make a video and to put together, scripting and recording and everything that, like making video in general, there's so much more stuff involved in it. But you said that once you nail one, that angle can last for much longer. So it all kind of comes out in the wash.
Yeah. So certainly the feed-based platforms, they all generally work to be honest, I don't know how all the platforms work from a very technical perspective, but Facebook, Instagram, I think TikTok as well, Twitter likely, LinkedIn likely work an auction, right? So we'll have all experienced this. You're scrolling through and it's like post from a friend, ad, and that's generally how it works. So advertisers are competing for that one slot. And the problem that these platforms have, the problem that Facebook's having and Instagram's having, is they're running out of inventory. They're running out of ad space. And so ad costs over time, as more people try to advertise on these platforms, will slowly rise. And you run into people getting ad accounts banned when they're like advertising in a way that Facebook don't want. The one nice thing that YouTube has is that because of the amount of content that is uploaded to YouTube, because it's we talk about this all the time, it's such a cleverly designed platform because the people are incentivized financially to create good content on YouTube, right? Because YouTube pays those people in ad revenue. So us, the advertiser, someone out that Mr. Beast, for example, puts out a great video and we decide we want to run an ad in front of that. Mr. Beast actually gets some of that ad spend effectively. So he's incentivized to put out even more videos. And the rate of things that are uploaded to YouTube is insane. It's something, I don't know what the stat is, but it's like there's more content than anybody could ever feasibly watch.
Because with the auction process, it's almost like Mr. Beast, by making a video, is making a bid for some ad spend. And so...
yeah, he's like opening a new slot. But so in other words, there's an ever increasing inventory of places of space for ads to be on YouTube. And so you end up getting people who are like sat down to watch something as well. They're going to sit and watch that video. They're going to sit and consume something. That's why they're on YouTube. So you get a bit more of their attention. But as you say, like in terms of like what is going to be the best ad platform in 5 years' time, I would say YouTube, or a combo of YouTube and Google. The difficulty is like you've got to put a video out, and suddenly the backdrop, the lighting, the audio, your tonality, how you come across, the script, all those things start to matter. Whereas previously you could have just typed something on your laptop and no one would have noticed if all those things were...
So like if you were in a coffee shop at 11 a.m. and it's busy and noisy and you need to get an ad angle out, you can't just quickly bash out a video, but you can type out some ad copy.
So the way I used to think of it before we started playing around with YouTube is it's really hard. It's really easy with Facebook to appear the same as the best Facebook copywriters in the world, right? Or the best ads running in the world. Like the bar is not that hard. It's just words. So as long as you communicate effectively and the image is cool, you look just as good as Range Rover, right? Or Land Rover, right? Whereas with YouTube, the Land Rover ad might be like drone footage coming over some hills, and like there's a Land Rover going over some rocks and splashing through a river, and then there's like me on my phone in my bedroom, right? So
with some Hot Wheels cars and your iPhone like going
exactly. So it's a harder landscape. Like it's definitely playing with the big boys in that respect. It's a harder landscape to compete in. It's closer to TV, but there's a lot of benefits. But to cycle back to start, like that's where I think you should graduate to. But to start, if you can't get a funnel working on Facebook and Instagram, you've got no hope on YouTube, Google, in my view, because it's just way more complicated. It's going to be more expensive. There's going to be more effort put into getting it to work. I would even try TikTok before YouTube, frankly, because it's a very similar in the way that it works. It's very similar in terms of cost per click and that sort of thing.
That's a really good framework. So pick the platforms where there's fewest variables first, get used to the ads process, and then graduate to doing the ones that once you kind of know what you're doing, and then you can enter the big boys gym and make some YouTube ads.
And the thing to remember with all this stuff is that the ad by itself is meaningless, right? So you're just paying for a click to something paying for a click from the right person at the right time to something. And if the something doesn't return the spend, it doesn't matter where the ads are running, right? You can spend 20 grand on an ad on Saturday night TV, right, and get 1 million views and 100,000 clicks. But if you've got no way of converting that money, it's a waste. So you've got to be confident in wherever you're sending the traffic before you turn ads on. And then once you're confident in that, like the ads can kind of be anywhere and still work. So that the funnel and the offer and the pricing and all that stuff is more important than the traffic. Absolutely.
So Johnny's got a really good overview of that process and how ads just act like a lens that you're just pointing towards something, but they're kind of inert in themselves, as you say. It's more about what happens after that. So have a look on our YouTube channel for that. It's called Why Most Coaches Aren't Successful with Facebook Ads, I think. Something along those lines.
I have no idea.
But if you just search on our channel for ads and it'll come up. But there we go. There's the answer to what is the best ads platform. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Johnny.
That's right.
But
always ready for an ads question.